and welcome to the SIR podcast, Society of Insurance Research, with your host, Tony Cañas. And today's guest is Astrid Malval-Beharry, president and founder at Stratmaven. Astrid, always good to see you. How are you doing today?
Likewise, Tony, it's a pleasure to see you, and I'm glad to be able to talk about SIR as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's start with kind of your current role. What is Stratmaven?
Yes, so thank you for that. Yeah, so Stratmaven was founded almost 13 years ago. We are a boutique strategy consulting and M&A advisory firm operating exclusively at the intersection of P&C insurance and technology. We serve what I call the P&C insurance trifecta. So we work directly with insurance carriers and MGAs, not so much with agencies. Second stakeholder are vendors, technology vendors, and service providers. So anyone from pre-seed, seed stage, insurtech vendors, all the way to very well-known, very well-established technology vendors, data analytics vendors. And then we also support investors. So we work with 7 of the top 25 private equity investors, as well as some VCs. And I think what's unique about that is by serving all 3 key stakeholders, we get this 360-degree view of the industry. So we get to see, what are the real pain points that carriers or MGAs are experiencing and how some insurtechs can actually best address those pain points. So we do a lot of work with insurtechs around product market fit, a lot of digital transformation work with insurance carriers and MGAs or expansion strategies. And then with the investors, they are really looking to do good deals, right? So who's gaining traction in the market, either if they are doing a roll-up of MGAs or they are looking to add an insurtech capabilities to perhaps an existing legacy portfolio company. So yeah, I get to see all of that at play and then sort of connect the dots, which I really love.
Perfect. And prior to Stratmaven, you spent a good 6 years at Lexis, and before that you were a consultant.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the time at Lexis. Was that also insurance research heavy?
Yes, so it was. So maybe if I go back even further, and in that way you'll see the transition. So I started my consulting career after my MBA at BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, in their New York office. And I would say I did not have the typical management consultant experience, if you will, where you're on a plane Monday through Thursday or Friday every week. And you do that for 2 to 3 years, unless, you decide to go the partner path because you want to experience different industries. In my case, I had the choice early on to work on this glamorous consumer brands project that everyone in the New York office wanted to work on. And then there was this little insurance project on the side that I actually raised my hand and volunteered to work on that. Part of it was I had a very good friend who was an actuary. So I kind of knew from our friendship, what P&C insurance was about. I have an engineering background, so I love anything that's data driven. But anyways, I fell in love with insurance from that one project. And so I regularly asked to be placed on insurance project or financial services project. And so from that perspective, I didn't have the typical management consulting experience because almost everything was insurance FS related. But the thing at BCG was the best training ground I could have hoped for in terms of helping me think strategically, problem solve, and all of that, and obviously opening the door to insurance. But I never got to see the work that I did get implemented. So after BCG, for personal reason, my husband was relocating from New York to Miami. I joined ADP. I still actually dabbled into insurance from an employee benefits perspective and healthcare perspective, but I really got to execute on the strategy. And that was so much fun to finally get to see, wow, okay, this is all that comes into play, and also think about people and processes, which you don't really think about when you're putting the strategy together and you're not involved on the execution side of it. And then I was actually recruited by LexisNexis, and it was another fantastic decision that I made to join them. I joined them at a time when Ellen was looking to acquire what at the time was the largest publicly traded data analytics technology provider to the insurance industry, a company called ChoicePoint that obviously LexisNexis ended up acquiring. So I not only played a major role in the ChoicePoint acquisition, I was actually in charge of the analysis of the insurance business of ChoicePoint, which was their crown jewel. And then I stayed beyond to do the post-merger integration again for the insurance vertical, and then ended up joining their homeowners insurance vertical, where I had more P&L responsibility and responsibility for product development. So I went from serving insurance carriers to now being on the vendor side, which was also a lot of fun, and try to see how we can solve some of their pain points by developing the products that they needed. So yeah, and I would have, to be honest with you, yes, I spent 6+ years, and I would have probably still been with LexisNexis because I really enjoyed the people that I work with, the work that we did. But I was, and I've been very open about that. I was just burned out. I was traveling every week, working 100 hours a week. I hardly saw my husband and my daughter, which at the time was like 4 years old. And so it was, yeah, it was a very difficult decision that I made. And the goal was to take a sabbatical, 6 month sabbatical, figure out next steps. I had the opportunity to either join the corporate strategy M&A group of a very well-known insurance carrier, a tier 1 carrier, as well as a private equity firm. And then 1 month into my sabbatical, I got a call from someone that I had previously worked with. He was now working for a private equity firm. They were looking to acquire a core system vendor. I had just gone through the divestiture of Insurity at LexisNexis. So, I was definitely primed for that because I had to going through that process, and obviously working for a company that had several core system applications. You kind of learned the market really well. And that's how Stratmaven was born. The rest, as they say, is history. But I think looking back, I can connect all the dots.
Fantastic. So Stratmaven sounds to me that the majority of what you do is basically research and communication. It's becoming an expert and then communicating it to the stakeholders so they can make their decisions.
That is actually great, Tony. I never thought about the communication part of it, but I think you're right. So research, so what we specialize in primarily is growth strategy, as well as, like I said, M&A advisory work. So very often a company's growth strategy will include sort of actions that they can take internally. So organic growth, we call that, but also inorganic growth in the forms of acquisition. But I would say research is fundamental to everything that we do. I think without research, we're solving for the wrong problem, and that can actually be very costly in the medium or to long term. But what I found is that, and I mentioned earlier that at BCG, I really got the best training I could have asked for in terms of doing data-driven strategy work. So everything that we recommend is anchored in a lot of data insights, data-driven insights and analytics. But I also found that data alone, even though we provide you the proof points, will not necessarily move the needle in terms of execution, which is where I think that communication part that you speak about comes in. The way instead of using communication, I say it's about people and processes. That's really what moves the needle and drive transformation and execution of a growth strategy. And what I have found is that without without research, you can't really take the pulse of who influences people and processes, or what influences people and processes to make that work. And so that's why research is such a vital part of what I do. Personally, since starting Stratmaven, I've conducted about 2,000 plus expert interviews and counting. And that includes one-on-one, typically 1 hour calls with chief underwriting officers, chief claims officers, CTOs, CIOs, but also shadowing adjusters, roofing contractors, and underwriting assistant. And even also, doing surveys of policyholders. So, yeah, it's really what help us, I think, any researcher, any consultant ground their findings in reality, right? So yeah, and I think that empirical framework or mindset is, something that I find with all of my peers at SIR.
All right. So at what point did you find out about SIR and become involved?
Yeah, so I've actually known about SIR for many, many years, even predating my time at LexisNexis. And for some reason at Stratmaven, I never thought about becoming a member. I thought to myself, well, I'm already a member of the CPC or the Institute, I'm a member of other organizations. But then last year, I don't know how I saw it, maybe on LinkedIn or I received an email, but it was about their fall virtual workshops. And for once, I wasn't traveling during that time. Like they had another one last week, and I was actually in New York and could not attend. I was in New York for work. But last year, all the stars were aligned, and I attended it, and absolutely exceeded my expectations. I love how the focus was really how you operationalize research. So you go from insight to truly adoption and dissemination of that, to your point, communication throughout the organization. And during the fall workshop, there was a gentleman by the name of Luke Frazier. I don't know if you know Luke, of Stepwise Innovations, and he was presenting some research findings, and that really spoke to me. So it was around policyholders and catastrophe risk, primarily kind of things like hurricane and so forth. And I reached out to him after the virtual workshop, and we connected on LinkedIn, and then he's since become a dear friend. And I think by the third or fourth call, he said, I really think you need to join our research committee. So he introduced me to Justin Sutter, the head of our research committee. And the research committee is really tasked with identifying research topics for the society to focus on. And what I love about that research committee is the fact that we are all a bunch of curious minds, but that approach research with a lot of rigor in terms of how we test hypotheses. And it's also, we are very diverse. So we have people from P&C insurance, we have people from health and wellness, we have people from life insurance. And I think for someone like me who's like 100% focused on P&C insurance, it's always great to hear perspectives from other adjacencies to P&C insurance, and see how things are done. And sometimes it also gives me an appreciation for P&C insurance. I hope the life insurance people won't bash me, but I think it's, we've been accused in P&C insurance to be very slow, which, by the way, I don't entirely agree with that premise. But I find that even in life insurance, I think they are dealing with greater legacy issues even than we are on the P&C insurance side. And so it also gives me a greater appreciation for, sometimes I may be frustrated about, wanting to help a carrier implement a certain technology, but it's taking longer because of XYZ. But the grass is always feels always greener on the other side until you actually get to speak to other people and see how it works. So yeah, so I've been a member for over a year now. And I'm completely hooked. I attended actually my very first SIR annual conference where actually I got to see you in Chicago this year. And I absolutely loved it. I think it's my type of insurance conference. It's a great size. Lots of cross-pollination of ideas from underwriting to claims to actuarial to research, vendors, carriers. Again, across different lines of business, which I really love. And yeah, I just thought the sessions were very unique. Most conferences, I don't even listen to the sessions. I do mostly networking. And I think I attended almost like 80% plus of the sessions there. I thought they were so well curated, but still, because it's a smaller number of attendees, having the chance to really build meaningful relationships. So yeah, I left Chicago, having made new friends, new relationships, across, like I said, other verticals within PNC insurance. But also I got some ideas as well in terms of how to apply certain research tools to the work that I do, which has been a lot of fun.
Fantastic. I found it particularly interesting when you joined last fall's sessions online, and you were impressed by them. You've had you've been at companies that really invest in people's training, right? So BCG and Lexus especially, both known as great companies that really train their people. So the fact that SIR's content was impressive to you, even though you've had that great training in the past, that does speak very well of what SIR is putting together. And then the conference, I completely agree. It reminded me a lot of the CPCU leadership summits, which are smaller, more intimate.
Yes.
But the leadership summits, the content tends to be heavily soft skill focused.
Yeah.
So yeah, that smaller conference, but with very well curated content specifically to research, attracting people from all over the industry was a really different. I mean, I go to so many conferences. It was really, really different.
It was, and I definitely plan to go to Kansas City next year. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those conferences that becomes an annual thing for me. It's
And
I have found my peeps, as they say,
yes, I completely get
at
that.
SIR. Yeah.
For years, I've had people ask me, like, I want to go into product. How do I connect with that world? And I've never really had a place to send them to, right?
Yeah.
So all of the kind of product related sites of what we do have a great home at SIR that
Absolutely. Yes.
nothing else is quite that well targeted at them and quite friendly to get involved.
Yes, I'm actually mentoring a young professional now that I'm encouraging her to join SIR, or actually even better, have a company sponsor SIR, because she's currently not in product, but I can, just by our interactions and some of the questions she asked, I can tell that she would actually be really, really good at that. And to your point, I think SIR is just the perfect place for that, to interact with peers and maybe even get a job that way, or certainly I'll be referring her to you as well, Tony. But yeah, that's I think for someone who's beginning their career from that point of view, it's a great place to be. And even for
Fantastic.
people like me who are, sort of more advanced in their career, but because I play at the intersection of growth strategy, M&A, research is like the glue across all of that. and research again across the insurance value chain. So that's why it's such an important element for me. So when they asked me if I would be on this podcast, I was delighted because I want more people to join SIR. Yeah, I think you'll find it a wonderful home. I mean, the people are just so nice. Oh my gosh.
I that I was blown away by that.
Yes.
I've been to a lot of conferences, and the large ones can be a lot of fun. The small ones can be great. The problem with the small ones, especially if they attract kind of the same people year after year, is they can get really cliquey.
Exactly.
And I didn't feel that at all at
Not at
SIR.
all. Like I said, it was my first time, and oh my gosh, I left making, not the type of connection that's, oh yeah, we'll connect on LinkedIn and never speak to each other forever. Not at all. Like, I'm certain articles that I write for digital insurance, I'll actually send it to my SIR team members for their input. And obviously giving them credit when those get published. But it's so much fun for me to be able to have this group of people that are like-minded, that are just so generous with their time as well. When I have a question, everyone is willing to help, and vice versa, as well. I do the same. So yeah.
Fantastic, Astrid. Thank you so much for sharing both your career story and your experience with this wonderful organization. Looking forward to see you in KC.
Likewise, Tony. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much.